Welcome back, and this is Week 1, Game 2 of Mord and Satchmo versus newcomers TimbaEC and Kromix. Second map playing out in Tirador Keep, chosen by the losers, which were very shocked and dismayed Kromix and Timba after what seemed to be an extremely successful early push and non-stop harassment of Mord. Turned into a heartbreak as they realized that they basically drove 4 hours to Disney World and left the tickets at home. And that's what happens when you do a really early strong push and you forget to expand and you run out of gas. And that's a lesson learned, but a very hard one to swallow. We see Satch and Mord looking to repeat success, but hopefully without Mord getting his ass kicked for the first 15 minutes. And we'll have to see how they bounce back from what was a victory, but still a very disturbing one, as I'm sure Mord doesn't want to be bullied for the entire game. We'll have to see also how Kromix and Timba bounce back from that loss, and maybe learn a little bit. It was a fairly successful rush, so maybe all they need to do is just kind of repeat it, but instead expand early, or expand at least a little bit sooner, and try to keep the resources flowing a little bit longer. We see some early gas going down for Timba. We see for Satchmo and Mord, typical opening play here. Mord going for the early gas, most likely going to try to repeat his roach success in the late game of the first attempt. And we see a mutual wall once again going down. Good formation here from Timba and Kromix. That will definitely be essential. However, seeing that they chose Tirador Keep, there is a very, very large ramp in the side, middle, depending on which angle you're looking at of the base. There's also this extra base over here, seeming as almost as if you would have like 3 teams playing this game. So you also want to keep an eye on this in Tirador. A very pro-Zerg map, so surprising selection from Kromix and Timba, but also lots of extra bases that's very difficult to keep your eye on. So want to try to get eyes on that as much as possible. It's much easier for Zerg, given the overlords, to be able to keep an eye on that. See Satch's spawning pool about to pop, and Mord's right alongside it. And you see the resource count going up. Mord looking to take probably a pretty early expansion. Take a look at resources. See pretty much everyone pulling even here. Timba lingering a little bit behind. For the most part, resources fairly dead even. See Cybernetics core going down, and we see a factory going down. Makes you wonder if they're going to see some early, no, probably not some early Banshee, or I'm sorry, Hellion plays. We don't see any reactor down on that barracks. Usually you would see a reactor down on the barracks, and then you would just swap these 2 buildings out when needed. So it kind of makes you wonder what build strategy they're going with now. It does not look to be repeating what they did before. They may be going for a 1-1-1 build, although that starport usually would be down instantly after this factory, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. We see another pylon going down as Kromix continuing to chrono those workers. And we see finally an extra base going down for Satch, and we'll most likely see an extra one for Mord pretty soon. And oh, we see the ping, and we see Satch asking, and it looks like he got the affirmative on that. They're going to go ahead and try to sneak it, to snipe these rocks before Kromix and Timba even detect it. Right now they don't have anything there. Typically you'd see a pylon or a supply depot built right next to these rocks to kind of keep an eye on it. See nothing at all. It's almost as if they either don't expect them to use it, or they've completely neglected the fact that it even exists. Mord finally going down for his expansion here, and we see speed almost done for Satch, as 4 soon-to-be speedlings look like they're headed towards these rocks to try and go ahead and get those down. We see Mord putting down a spine crawler for good measure, as well as his typical roach warren. You see more Zerglings coming out, speedlings now from Mord, as they head over to these rocks to try and take this down. It looks like they're going to start chewing away at this, although it's going to take a while. And it looks like Timba may find them, depending on what this SCV's on his way to do. No, he's going to go for an expansion, definitely learning from the previous attempt. But, oh, and we see Stargates. It looks like they're taking a page out of Chris Justice's playbook, going for a Void Ray rush. It's a little late, but it looks like it's coming. And we have the Banshees. So it looks like they're going to go straight for the Zerg's biggest weakness early game, which is air and stealth, and try to do just a really quick and dirty. Little do they know that they got a quick and dirty head in their way, as Satch is taking down these rocks, and he's basically going to do a slightly more graceful dude from Brazil cello rush, and almost done. You can apply that to a lot of things, Satch. It looks like Timba just found out that his heart's about to break a second time, because he is not going to have enough Marines to stop this, and it's going to be a little too late. And then what? Satch looks like then what's going to be a celebration, because you caught these guys completely off guard, and you see all these Zerglings just running in here, going straight for resources, and you see Kromix trying to chrono nothing on his Stargate, as right now they are just running around, scared for their lives. A single Void Ray and a single Banshee is all they have to defend. This enormous wall has just been destroyed. They need to try and airlift whatever you can. I would even airlift this command center at this point. Just try to block off that ramp. I mean, it's definitely an unconventional way to try and stop this, but you don't have many other options. These Zerglings are not going to stop. And knowing Mord, he's probably going to have as well some roaches coming out. We see Lair already being researched to deal with the air threat in case they try to go straight for the base. Zerglings still running rampant in Timba's base. This is definitely not what they expected from a Game 2. They were hoping to put up more of a fight, especially after such a good showing in the first half of the first match. And this is definitely not looking good. Void Ray's trying to pick off these Zerglings. That is a very slow process with just a single Void Ray. We see finally another Void Ray coming out to try and help, and the Zerg base is completely uncontested. We see the macro getting away from them as Timba's completely shut down. Kromix is barely surviving on 18 workers, and the two Zergs pulling away. And meanwhile, the cat and mouse game just continues over here as Zerglings have been pushed out again, and more are most certainly on the way. This is definitely not a good situation. Timba's severely crippled. We have more Void Rays coming out, but he needs to send them into action immediately because they already have spore colonies down. It may be too late for those Void Rays to have any decent effect. They're going to try their best to guard this wall, but you need to really start putting some cannons down, something, because that ramp is just such a vulnerability right now, especially when you're continuing to build only Void Rays. You don't have much of a ground force to try and take that out. And we see more Zerglings starting to pile up, a few roaches pulling out, more definitely taking a long time to build his army up here, but he's in no rush considering how much early damage they were able to do. Literally a turn of events. They said, you know what, you hit us early, we're going to hit you early. And Satch has definitely learned a few things from the harassment machine ways of Mord. And we see Timba going for a further expansion, saying, you know what, let me not risk it. Let me try to take a page out of Satchmo's book and do exactly what he did to beat us last time, which is get a secret expansion. And having only half the conversation, we're not really sure what Satch is referring to. But we do know that some Void Rays are starting to roll in now and to try and take out some of his bases. So we're assuming it has to do with trying to defend this expansion. It looks like Kromix will catch him a little off guard, and he will try to take down as many of these Void Rays as possible with Queens, but it's not going to be enough as these Void Rays are going to melt through these Queens. Hopefully they'll hold off the Void Rays long enough for these Spore Colonies to finish. Both Spore Colonies getting targeting on them now, and we have a single Zergling from Mord trying to slow down that expansion, not going to do anything, and they take down the two Spores, and they're going to go for this main base. It looks like they will get at least part of Satchmo, and Satchmo ignoring the PG-13 rating of this cast and just go ahead and saying how he feels into the chat. And thankfully Mord's macro has paid off, and those Hydralisks have fought off the remaining Void Rays. Meanwhile, just when you think things were getting a little bit better over at Timba's base, we have another batch of Zerglings rolling in to tell him how much he appreciated the Void Ray rush, and to give Kromix his best. And he's just going to roll over to Kromix's side and try to do the same. There may be a little too much firepower down on him, especially these Marines drawing the fire of these Zerglings, and those Banshees will make quick work of that. Now they have a decent air force, but unfortunately there are Hydralisks on the map now, and outside of the cloaking ability of these Banshees, there's not going to be much they can do for it. We do finally see this wall starting to get built here as this enormous, monstrous ramp, which has been such a headache for Kromix and Timba in this game, finally getting some defense. We see the secret base of Timba starting to be built up at one of the far expansions, hopefully undetected, and we'll see how long that lasts. We see very staggering worker count. At this point, he needs to pull these gas workers and put them to work on minerals, because he really needs minerals more than anything right now. As you see, staggering 11 workers left alive after that massive onslaught. Satchmo completely paying him back. He has now also discovered Timba's secret base and quickly racing in there, almost quicker than I can click, and taking out the 3 workers that he had. And Timba will move this base for a second time, moving it back behind the safety of what he hopes is a secured wall, although these holes are a little too big. He needs to probably put some supply depots there, maybe even build a few more bunkers. We do finally see Kromix also getting a base down, going solely for gas to feed the Void Ray urge, you know, Void Rays apparently are a very stubborn drug habit to kick. because just like we saw with Chris Justice in week 1, he is continuing to build Void Rays even after the counter for Void Rays has been entered, and all these spores are down. Not sure what Satch is referring to. We see lots of creep going down to make sure these Hydralisks have the speediest way possible. See Satch's very fearsome, fear-inducing Zerglings at this point after all the trauma they've committed on Timba, just roaming around looking for expansions, keeping them contained. This is literally a reversal compared to last game, where we saw Mord, the double Zerg team, with Satchmo being completely contained, and Kromix and Timba not taking advantage of that contain to expand. Here we see the reverse, where not only are they containing Kromix and Timba, but they're also taking advantage of the fact that they are completely penned in there and going for their expansions and macroing up. So at this point, the resource advantage is staggering in favor of the double Zergs. They have map control, they have vision control, they have resource control, and we are seeing now, looks like a big mass of units. Roach Hydral is just rolling in, good strong counter to really this air force here, which is all they have. They do not have. Well, it looks like they have one bit of detection. Hopefully, Kromix will try to snipe that detection. We do see some Zerglings looking to counterattack, and we see the army rolling in here. They're going to make quick work of this Nexus, even though it's only getting gas. That is going to put a damper on Void Ray production. Void Ray is nowhere near critical mass to handle with this Hydralisk threat. And we see them just kind of rolling in here, just trying to snipe some of these buildings to make way for these workers to go in here. We have 2 siege tanks going down. That is definitely going to help. We can hopefully use these roaches to try and tank it. And here come the Corruptors, and these Corruptors are going to make quick work of what's left of this Air Force, leaving only 2 siege tanks and a very awe-inspired worker just guarding the front of this base. And this is pretty much the GG right here, as we see them rolling in with a combined Air Force and Ground Force, and completely taking out the production facilities, guarding that ramp, and they're going to roll in here on Kromix's base and just completely take him out. They have no answer for it, and you see Timba just slyly saying, you know, I don't know what else you want me to do, man. I gave it my best shot. Probably realizing that their initial attack was the best one, and this alternate attack was definitely not a good fight. But once again, silly mistakes costing Timba and Kromix what should have been a more competitive match, completely neglecting this ramp and not protecting it, but still good sportsmanship on behalf of the losing team, as Timba gives them a nice job, asking if they're done, Mord confirming their greatest fears, and game 2 goes towards Mord and Satchmo, as they prove once again that Mord is still the champion he always was, and Satchmo, an excellent predecessor, coming up in the ranks, proving that he can definitely pull his weight as well, learning that harassment machine from Mord. And this is a heartbreaking defeat for Timba and Kromix, but they are newcomers, and they still put forth one hell of an introduction in that first game, and it'll be exciting to see what happens in week 2 for both of these teams.